did a Shawnee, Oklahoma police officer hold a woman hostage in order to make her husband comply.
My wife was going to walk into the house, get her ID, and walk it out here until your buddy over there decided to cuff her and walk her off as an extortion to get me to cooperate.
Here's the deal, sir.
And guess what? It worked. Because I'm not going to allow my wife to go sit in a jail cell.
Okay.
So the extortion worked.
Are you giving your ID so they can issue citations?
What choice do I have?
It's that simple.
I'm being extorted. He is the one that started this. There was no reason for him. She was walking in, following me. He stood right here and blocked her path. And it's on camera. We have a camera system here. I have him on camera.
I understand that.
Standing in front of her, blocking her, illegally arresting her.
We're going to let her go, right? Yeah. Okay.
You literally arrested my wife and held her for extortion.
Go ahead and sign. Like I said, not an admission of guilt, just a promise to appear in court.
No, you just extorted me.
There is a huge difference when police officers interact with people in their yard or in their home. Welcome back to the Civil Rights Lawyer channel. This story comes to us from the Oklahoman. I'll link the original story and their video in the first comment. In late June of this year, police were called to a Shawnee, Oklahoma home to help investigate a neighbor's animal control complaint. And the homeowners, Clifford and Jennifer Gaskell, had already talked with city officials about their situation, and they believed that they did nothing wrong. But the police officers in the Shawnee Police Department disagreed, and they wanted to write a municipal citation related to the Gaskells' dog-sitting business. This took place on the Gaskells' property, which is my interest here. Clifford refused to show police his ID.
You have your driver's license, sir.
I'm not giving my driver's license. I'm not driving a vehicle. I don't need a driver's license. I can walk in there and ask her, and she can tell me.
I appreciate it.
Would you like to walk inside? I don't want to deal with these people and their attitude. I got no beef with you.
Okay.
We have guests.
Hi there.
Hi.
How are you?
Are they all still behaving?
They're all behaving, yeah. Okay.
So who did you talk to at the city?
I spoke with Beverly, who is a volunteer at Animal Welfare. She got me in touch with Brandy. I've tried calling Animal Welfare multiple times after they showed up.
That's them.
Because I was trying to get a hold of this Brandy person.
But yeah, Brandy, like I said, Brandy's no longer over there. So, but let me call her because I know where she's at. So
to cool off after the tense argument, Clifford said that he walked back into his home, leaving the officer Jacob Blazer outside with Jennifer, who had been casually standing outside looking on while her husband spoke with the officers. Less than a minute later, Jennifer was in handcuffs. Luckily for the Gaskells, the whole interaction was caught on their home security cameras. In reviewing that footage and comparing it to the police report from the incident, they found some deep concerns. After Clifford walked inside, Jennifer Gaskell told Officer Blazer her ID was inside the house, so she'd have to go back inside and get it. Instead of letting her retrieve it, Officer Blazer blocked her from going inside. He said, "You're not going inside. Your husband needs to come out and present his ID, or you're going to jail." She stood idly next to Blazer with her arms crossed, and after about a minute, Blazer can be seen on the video shrugging his shoulders before grabbing Jennifer's wrists, putting her in handcuffs, and walking her back to his car. In the police officer's narrative of the incident, Officer Blazer wrote that he detained Jennifer after she, quote, attempted to push past me again to go inside the house. But video from the two surveillance cameras shows something different. Officer Blazer's version of events never happened. She never tried to push past him. As Jennifer sat in the back of the police car, Clifford finally relented and gave police his ID so they would write the citations and release his wife.
Who is this guy and why is he arresting my wife?
Obstruction.
Obstruction of what?
Anytime that we ask for an identification so that we can issue a citation, if you don't give it, somebody can be arrested for obstruction.
Did she refuse to give it to you? Did she refuse?
I don't know. I wasn't up here, sir. I was on the phone.
And I'm telling you that my wife was going to walk into the house, get her ID, and walk it out here until your buddy over there decided to cuff her and walk her off as an extortion to get me to cooperate.
Here's the deal, sir.
And guess what? It worked. Because I'm not going to allow my wife to go sit in a jail cell.
Okay.
So the extortion worked.
Are you giving your ID so they can issue citations?
What choice do I have?
It's that simple.
I'm being extorted. You literally arrested my wife and held her for extortion.
Go ahead and sign. Like I said, not an admission of guilt, just promise to appear in court.
No, you just extorted me. Where am I signing?
Right here. Let's see. Where's here? These are different than ours. Signature.
All the way on the bottom.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they didn't issue, since you had 3 dogs, they could have issued you 3 citations for each dog, but
I should be happy that you arrested my wife for absolutely no reason after your buddy over here stood in front of her and refused to come in the house and get her ID.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what she was going to do.
There's
You can hand those to her.
Okay.
I'll tell you, you can hand her my license.
All right.
I don't see there's anything else to do.
There you go, sir.
Just extorting
Or ma'am.
me. Extortion is illegal.
In the call, 56329.
Thank you, sir.
Try to get him wrote up pretty quick.
His or?
That's his. He didn't know where hers was. So, we're going to let her go, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But I did speak to Brandy, just like I told you I was going to. So, y'all do fall. So this she didn't know if this was agricultural or not, but even if it is, it's not going to matter. You still have to have a permit through the city if you're running a business.
We spoke to all the way up to city planning and code enforcement, and they told us we did not need any.
Go ahead and take those off of her. Yeah. I understand that, and she's going to make some phone calls as well. But right now, anytime an officer asks for identification, it's just like whenever I was asked. I could have went this far, but it's obstruction is what it falls under. Anytime we ask, and we're out here investigating, we're trying to get information so that they can do their job and issue a citation. It's a simple citation. You'll go to court, and then you can talk to the judge, fight it in court, and whatnot. We can't make those determinations. All we do is enforce what city ordinance is or the law.
So if you read the Oklahoman article, they ask the right question, but I think that they come to the incorrect conclusion. And this is their outrage. When can cops detain you? Police have broad powers to detain individuals under what's known as a Terry detention, in reference to a 1968 U.S. Supreme Court decision in Terry versus Ohio. Although it's different from an actual arrest, the line between detention and arrest is thin, blurred, in fact intensive, said Andrea Warden, a Norman attorney, who they asked to independently analyze the situation. The fact that Jennifer wasn't suspected of any criminal activity makes it harder to justify that kind of detention, let alone being cuffed and put in the back of the police car, Warden said. That kind of detention is usually reserved for persons suspected of criminal activity or those who reasonably pose a risk of harm to others. Even if Jennifer Gaskell's brief detention didn't break any laws, the interaction raises questions about the appropriate use of police powers and the justification Blazer used to put her in handcuffs. But if you've watched many of my videos, you might be able to point out the problem here. While that is usually correct, we're not talking about a pedestrian out in a public place. Where are we? We are at these people's residence. Specifically, we're within the fenced-in yard. And what does that consist of? Well, that is the curtilage of this house. So Florida versus Jardines, 2013 U.S. Supreme Court decision held that a search and seizure occurs when the government, without a warrant, goes within the curtilage of a house. And it included a home's front porch and that curtilage as being basically a physical intrusion into the home. It's the same thing. Payton versus New York, a 1980 Supreme Court decision, said that if the police are going to arrest somebody in their home rather than in a public place, they need a warrant. Oliver versus United States, 1984, held that Fourth Amendment protections of the home extend beyond just the interior of the home and into the curtilage. So very, very clearly established that the fenced-in yard where this is taking place is basically the same thing as being in the Gaskell's home here. Therefore, more than just reasonable suspicion, even if it existed, would be necessary. What would these police officers need if they're going to search or seize the Gaskells within the curtilage of their house? They are going to need a warrant. or they're going to need an exception to the warrant, which really could only be valid voluntary consent, which clearly they did not have here, or secondly, some sort of exigent circumstances, an emergency situation, which did not exist. They actually came to the wrong conclusion here in the media report. Absolutely, a law was violated. The Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution was violated here. The better question to ask is not what rights the homeowners had, but what rights did the police officers have? All they had was the so-called knock and talk exception to the warrant requirement, which it's not really an exception. So a police officer that does not, or who does not have a warrant, may only approach a home and knock on the door precisely because that's no more than any private citizen might do. Police officers only have an implicit license to approach the home by the front path, to knock promptly, wait briefly to be received, and then, absent invitation to linger longer, leave. Critically, however, the right to knock and talk does not entail a right to conduct a general investigation within the home's curtilage. They have no more right than the neighbors would have, or a Girl Scout selling cookies would have, to remain at this house against the will of the homeowners, or to demand anything from them. So I know I've done a lot of these videos, but still, cops don't understand, and homeowners don't understand, and the media doesn't understand. There is a huge difference when police officers interact with people in their yard or in their home. The Fourth Amendment protections are greater. They don't need just reasonable suspicion that some crime has been committed. They have to have a warrant unless they have valid voluntary consent or exigent circumstances. If you like going over your constitutional rights and applying them to videos and media reports such as this, please make sure to subscribe both here and at the blog at thecivilrightslawyer.com. Remember, freedom is scary. Deal with it.